All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sarah, can you read our mission statement?
Sure. The mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. Next item is approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Motion by Jeff and a second by Sarah Runcie to approve the agenda. Any discussion or changes? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. The agenda is approved. Public forum. Anybody from the public want to approach the board? Sam, you're the only one.
Today.
Okay.
Next time.
All right, our next item, referendum update or presentation. Is this you?
That's me, and Sarah, I think, is going to join me. So I'm just going to do it from here because I just have a little update for everybody to talk kind of through where we're at, what's going on with the referendum. So first thing I want to talk about is just the microsite that we've created is tomorrowstigers.org. So for community members and board members, I encourage you to check that out. That's where we're putting all the information about the referendum, all the updates, the tax impacts, or some tax calculators on there. Kind of everything that people want to know about the referendum is located on that site. The site went live in early June, and it's been operating. We've been updating kind of as things go on. So throughout the month, and we'll continue to update that as we go forward.
Is the tax impact on there?
Tax
It's
impact
all
is on there.
It's ready to run.
It's all running. Yep, you can put in your address and find out. Yep, all that stuff is on there. Yep, I got her. So a couple things I just want to talk about with the referendum. Our mission, obviously, to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success. That means we're really working to meet all of our kids where they're at. And we've talked a lot about this at board meetings, and this is what we talk about all the time with our schools. I think we're doing a great job. We're seeing a lot of progress, and we've spent a lot of time in our classrooms focusing on that one-to-one need that our kids have, the tools, the guidance, the opportunities they need to do those things. That's our focus. That's where we spend a lot of time. We're really proud of the progress we've made. We've shared some data from even looking at our last spring data. We're really excited about some of that. The academic achievement certainly is huge. We've seen gains with behavior performance through some of the bar stuff we're doing. We've seen gains in attendance. We've seen so many things with academic piece. Our college and career readiness, we spent a lot of time talking about that. Not only with the CTI Center that we opened a couple of years ago, but also just within all the way back to our middle school classes and elementaries. We've got some programs where we're looking at technical and career preparedness classes, talking about skill building and getting kids excited about different things that are available for them. And some of those work that's all, like, I'm going to say extras, if you will, with some of that work that's taking place. We are looking at some serious financial challenges going forward. We talked about these a couple of years ago. Starting in 2022, we went out to the community and asked for operating referendum. We had some other funding that came through with the legislature. We had some funding that came through with some COVID funds that have kind of covered us for a while. Those funds are gone, and we still have these financial needs that have existed. So we need to have some serious conversations with this referendum about what can we continue to do and what can't we continue to do if we don't have additional funding. A couple important dates. Election day is November 4th. That's the day of our election. The only thing on the ballot this fall in Marshall is the school operating referendum. So the voting this year will take place at the district office. That will happen right in this room, in the PD room, will be on election day. Early voting starts as early as September 19th. There's in-person early voting or there's mail-in voting. That is all going to be managed through our office as well. So people coming in to vote will come and do so right here in the district office. As we talk about all those things that are going on, as we've been concerned about finances the last few years, we have done things to try and protect student learning. We've trimmed budgets. We've gone into our reserves. We're going into our reserves this year again. We've made cuts where we can to do the least harm to classrooms. And reality is we are at a spot looking at this next year. Our deficit's nearly $2 million next year. That's significant. We can't continue to go forward like this without either additional funding or some cuts. So serious conversations about this referendum in particular and what happens if the referendum does not pass.
And I would just, excuse me, add to this that, coming into this past school year, we knew that it was going to be a difficult year, that our funding was coming up short. We came into the school year budgeting a deficit. And again, throughout the school year, we had listening sessions with our staff, working on different avenues or ways to try to trim our budget as much as we can. And we did managed to find some ways to cut the budget over the last school year by about $350,000. But again, coming into this current school year now, we are looking at about a $1.8 million deficit. And without a referendum, there's not a lot of other avenues for revenues coming in that we're able to find. So we are going to have some very defined cuts that will have to take place if the referendum does not pass.
So there's a comment on the slide here. We've reached the point there is nothing left to cut that doesn't directly impact our classrooms, and that's what's making this extra hard. We don't want to cut anything that's going on in our classrooms. We are very proud of what's taking place. All these programs happening, we know are important to our educational experience in Marshall. That's what we take pride in. But we're just at a spot that we won't be able to continue without the referendum. With what we have going on, that would mean fewer teachers, bigger classes, and fewer opportunities for students. We know we can't cut our ways to success. That's why we need the community to come and support, asking for support for this operating referendum that would generate $2 million a year to cover that need and keep the programs that are existing in place.
Right, and what we have been doing these last 2 years while trying to determine what we can do to make up our deficit is we have been spending down our reserves. Luckily, we have had strong reserve balances in place over the years and are able to do that for these last 2 years. But it's not something we can continue to do. That's not what reserves are for. They're for emergencies, when things come up that are not planned. And so spending reserves while doing it these last 2 years for our operating expenses, we just cannot continue to do that going forward.
Right. When Sarah talks about those emergencies, I think a great example is the flooding that recently happened. A lot of homeowners had the same thing at home. In the middle school, we were hit hard. We have some significant damage down our F-wing, and we're getting it all put back together, but insurance doesn't cover everything with that. There are expenses that come up, and that's what our reserve funds are for, so we can have those rooms put back together and the flooring in and the painting done and the cabinets replaced and all those things that need to be there so that we're ready to function for school. It's the same as what homeowners are facing right now. So a big piece of the work that's happened so far is with communications. That's where we've been putting a lot of our time here throughout the months of June and July as we're getting ready for the referendum this fall and obviously for school to start. But a couple things I just want to update on what's going on. The microsite I mentioned early on, that is up and running. It has the challenges that we're facing. It talks about the plan, the tax impact, and how to vote. Again, that site is tomorrowstigers.org, and I do encourage everyone to check that out. There's a lot of information there. Board members, I'll say if you get questions from community members about the referendum, I encourage you to send people that site. That's where the information, the responses are at for anybody wanting to know more about why we're asking for this or what this is going to do for the schools. A couple things with the site, just to note, I think there's some good data here. It went live early in June. Activity on the site has been steady. Now, obviously, a summer is not a time that people are thinking about school finances, other than probably school finance people. But we've had a lot of hits on that site. 1,075 total visits to our site, 915 unique visits. That means some people are coming back more than once, but a lot of people are coming to the site. There's been over 2,500 page views. So when they're coming to the site, they're not just landing on the first site or the first page and closing it. They're looking through additional pages, which is encouraging. Average time spent on a page is 98 seconds. Obviously working with a communications firm on some of the work with this, and the 98 seconds, that doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but how they explain that to me is that means that someone's not landing on the page just seeing the first page and saying, oh, okay, whatever. They're taking time and reading through what's on the page when they're on there. So 98 seconds per page means they're actually looking at some of the data information on the page, which is encouraging. That's what the site is there for, is to get people's attention and to share information about the referendum. Our goal in August is going to be to accelerate communications. There'll be More going out in August than what has been. Obviously, building up to the start of the school year, we'll be doing more. What we've noticed with the hits on the site so far, 54% of the hits have been from mobile devices. That tells us that social media is probably reaching a lot of our stakeholders. That would indicate that's the case. Certainly some are from tablets and some are from PCs or other devices as well, but a majority of the hits on the site are coming from mobile devices. So social media is a way that we're communicating. A lot of all of our social media communications refer people back to the site too, so that will continue. Community presentations, that's something Emily and I have been working on this week, and Sarah will be a part of. We'll start doing community presentations now in August, just sharing information with different community groups. Newspaper articles, back to school communications, all those things will happen as well. Mailers will be going out. Personal contacts at community events this fall will be part of our work with communications. Also the ongoing budget planning. We mentioned earlier, Sarah mentioned just the need for that list of what really happens if this doesn't happen. So we're working on finalizing that list, but there will be information shared with the community about what exactly $2 million of cuts looks like to the school district. And just knowing that without financial stability, or with financial stability, we can keep progress going that's taking place right now. Is there anything you want to add on that one?
Yeah, I don't think so at this point, other than, in our next slide here too, we do talk about, the need for the cuts. It is going to result in fewer staff and bigger class sizes at all of our sites. I'd say approximately 75% of our expenses for the district are for staffing. So staff make up the majority of our budget. So unfortunately, we've tried to cut everywhere we can and trim where we can, but when it comes down to it, it is unfortunately people that are going to be affected when if the referendum isn't going to pass. We do have to have that plan in place.
Right. I think the final point I'll make off of this slide is this isn't about just trimming around the edges anymore. This isn't looking at the extras anymore. We are now looking at people and programs. This is so there's no fat left on that cut. We're down to the meat here.
They're tough conversations. to
Very
have.
tough conversations. Nothing that we want to see go. Things that are important to our classrooms. So that's the information that we kind of have to share for right now, an update, and we'll continue to give updates as we go through the fall. But work session after the board meeting today, we'll also have more time to talk about questions and such. But thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Next item is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff and a second by Sarah Brink to approve the consent agenda. I will call for the vote. That is approved. Any board reports or updates? Anyone? Not much going on in the summertime. All right. Discussion item, second review of policy 413-06.
Just share on this one. This was the policy we talked about with travel expenses and reimbursement, looking to realign some of the practices within that. This came up through some conversations with staff and how we can better do or differently do some of the way that we handle travel expenses for staff.
And that will be an action item at the next meeting.
Yep.
Our action item is the first final review of policies from the 2025 legislative changes. And the reason we're not having 3 readings of these is because they are legislative in statute or whatever.
Correct. These were legislative changes, so these are just one-time readings. We did a bunch of these at the last board meeting. This one was one we didn't have ready yet for the last board meeting. Just wanted to double check with our school attorney on some of the verbiage and stuff in this one to make sure we're meeting the needs of the new legislative changes.
I will.
Motion to approve.
Thanks, Jeff.
Second.
Thanks, Tim. Motion by Jeff and a second by Tim to approve policies from the 2025 legislation. Any further discussion?
So last thing I'll say with this one, the change with this was about what is classified as directory information. So there have been some pretty significant changes the last couple of years over what is and what isn't directory information. And that's the part we want to make sure we had covered right, because it's an important piece to make sure we're protecting student and staff data.
Very good. I'll call for the vote. Those are approved. Next item is approval of the 25-26 school lunch prices.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Sarah Brink and a second by Mary to approve the school lunch prices for this coming school year. Any further discussion?
I can share, well, we did approve school lunch prices last month. Right after the meeting, we got an update from MDE on some changes with that. So the change here is adult meals instead of $4.95 or $5, I believe was the change.
All right. I'll call for the vote.
I should also clarify, student meals still continue to be free.
That is approved. And I will adjourn this meeting.